Ever wished you could present your logos like a pro and perhaps sidestep a lot of that frustrating client feedback? You see, most designers pour their heart and soul into the logo itself, but then do themselves a massive disservice by packaging and presenting it in the wrong way, which basically invites chaos. But today I'm going to show you how I present my logos for clients and for social, and we'll throw in a bit of animation and some video editing to make it all look even better. So let's start with the biggest mistake, sending the client a single JPEG. There you go, there's the logo. What do you think? Why do I sound drunk? I don't know. Maybe I am. Now, this is the fastest way to invite low quality, also known as feedback, look like an amateur, and buy yourself a one-way ticket to endless revisions. Because a single flat image gives no context whatsoever. They can't visualize how their new logo is going to actually look in the real world, so they try and imagine it, which leads to thinking and ideas. And that's dangerous, but it also leads to questions. Questions like, what would it look like if...
A few moments later.
So to mitigate this as much as possible, you need to show them how their new logo is going to look on things like packaging, signage, maybe their Instagram page, their website. So basically the places where they're actually going to use it. So instead of sending a JPEG, remember that's a no-no, you send more of a mini brand presentation, even if you're only designing the logo. Why exactly? Because it's going to make your life easier, as we'll uncover in a minute, and because they'll appreciate you going the extra mile and seemingly over-delivering, even though it won't actually take you that much longer. Plus, a lot of what we do for this presentation can be saved as a template and then reused on other projects, which of course is going to save you time in the long run. So you can set this up with most design software, but this time I'll be using Adobe Illustrator.
So this is the project that I'm going to be using. We have a logo, Moduhouse, and this is a fictional brand that does modular and sustainable housing. And you can see the logo is done. We have a few different variations for size, and we have a flat business card. Now we're going to add this to a presentation, and I'm going to start with 6 A4 sized pages. And we've got their logo, my logo, the project, and then the date on the front. Now for the second page, I'm going to have a quick project overview, and you can write this yourself or you can ask ChatGPT to generate something nice and succinct. And we've got a footer that will go on all the different pages as well, just explaining what each page is. Right, next up, we're going to have the logos. So we have the main horizontal version here, and we have a stacked version over here, and we're going to call these primary and secondary respectively. And this particular logo breaks down even further as well. So we have an emblem badge version here, and we have an even smaller one on the right. Now you may or may not have all 4, but because this project is all about modular housing, having a modular logo kind of makes sense. And I think it's kind of clever. Right, now we're going to show some variations on the logo as well. So we're going to use the main logo for this, and we're going to start with the logo on white, then we're going to have it reversed out with the red, and then we're going to do a black and white and reversed version as well. And making sure that your logo design does work in a one color print, like black for example, I think is pretty important. So now we're setting up some space for our mockups, and we're going to add some images in here. So we're just planning out the page, and this is where we're going to actually show the logo on a real product. And we're going to start with the business card. So let's export the flat design as a JPEG.
Right, so we've exported the front and back of the business card as a JPEG, but now we need to turn this into a mockup.
Right, so I've switched over to Artlist, and for a limited time, they are offering their lowest price all year. And if you use my link below, you'll receive 2 extra months for free. And first, we're going to start by using the AI image feature. So we're going to upload the images here. We have the front, and then we have the back of the business card as well. And I'm going to write a prompt that quite literally describes what I want. Now we've got different AI models here. If you don't know what any of these are, and to be honest, I'm not that familiar either, just click on them, try them out, click generate and see what you get. So this is our first one. And not quite what I'm looking for. So we'll switch over to Nano Banana now. And honestly, this is one I have used a bit more than the others. That looks a bit more like it. So try these different models, play around with them, and then generate a bunch of different mockups. And I quite like this one here, so I'm going to upscale this and just make it a slightly higher resolution. There we go. And then we can go ahead and download this. Right, now I'm going to export a really large version of the stacked logo, and we're going to upload this, and now we're going to create a mug mockup. So we're just going to write a brief description. I'm going to use the banana again, and we're going to generate a bunch of different mockups.
Now, I could spend a long time generating hundreds of images, but we'd be here for hours. And I like sleep. And I have children. I need to see them, but not too much because that's dangerous.
Right, let's just take a minute to generate a bunch of different mug mockups. And if it's not quite right, you can always refine the prompt. And I'm going to upscale this one and then download it. That looks pretty good. Mugtastic. And something else you can also do is you can animate this, which is pretty crazy. We're not going to use this in this presentation, but I got to show you this feature. So you can pick a video model. We'll come back to these a bit more. And then you can generate an animation from a still image. So Artlist not only does the image, but it animates it as well. So this is pretty insane. So we'll go ahead and download that just in case we do decide to use that for something. Right, we need one more. This is going to be a notebook and it's going to be on a coffee table inside a lovely cozy home. So we'll generate a bunch of these. Now, something you can also do is even though I uploaded the logo in red, I want to reverse this out in white. So all I have to do is change the prompt and there you go. I've got white logo on a red notebook. So it is pretty powerful and I'm going to try some different models just because I think different AI models handle different types of images better. And actually the Flux context model works pretty well for this notebook. And I'm actually going to make the logo a little bit smaller. Perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's download it. So we very quickly created our mockups and we're going to now rename them and then drop them in the folder. And because I've kind of sized these up in the presentation and I know where each one's going to sit, I'm going to use generative fill in Photoshop just to extend them horizontally or vertically, just so they definitely have enough image for me to adjust the crop. So there we go. That's okay. That's going to be more than good enough just to give me a little bit of wiggle room if I need it. So let's flatten this down and again, save it as a JPEG. And then we're just going to do this for the mug as well. So a bit more background and then make this one a bit taller.
Now, this presentation uses 3 mockups, but the last one I did for a client had 8. So if it makes sense, you can always do more.
Right, so we're back in Illustrator and we're going to place these into the document. So let's navigate to them, select all of them, and then click place. And then we can place them in the respective position. There we go. And once they're in the right place, now we're going to resize them so they fill all of those shapes. And the shapes we created, we're actually going to use those as clipping masks to crop the image inside each shape.
Now imagine receiving these visuals rather than just a flat JPEG of the logo with no context. Literally, it's not even close. I don't know what this was. Oh, hello, how you doing? Oh, we're not too bad, son. You all right? Yeah, yep. It's been a long day and it's like 2 a.m. I don't even have a watch on. Don't judge me.
So this is coming together pretty well and we've spent practically no time on this. Now I do need a couple more pages, so let's add some at the end. And what we're going to do for this one is this is going to be a breakdown or an analysis of sorts of the logo. And this is a great opportunity to explain some of your thought process and the design thinking behind this particular design. And I think I'm going to use the primary logo for this one as well. And for the last page, we're going to remove the footer and turn the logo mark into a pattern. Now you can use the logo mark, or it could be some icons or illustrations that you've created that relate to the brand. And this page just closes out the presentation. So we're going to have a nice pattern there as a watermark. And again, you can paste the logo, or you can quite simply write, "Thanks for viewing this presentation. I look forward to your feedback." Right, so 8 pages total. Let's reorganize them to make things a bit easier to view. And when you're creating your own presentation, you can use this as a starting point. And if you do want to go a bit further and include information around colors and typography or anything else that relates to the project, then honestly, you go ahead and do that. Now, very important, as you can see, I've missed a few bits of text here, and it's also important to go through and check for typos as well, because yeah, typos aren't really a good look if you're trying to put together a professional presentation. Now, when it comes to exporting, we're exporting as a PDF, and we're going to choose the smallest file size preset so we have a nice small file that we can email. And after no time at all, this is what we've created. And remember, we can reuse this template on other projects as well. Just switch out the logos and the graphics, change the text, and you're good.
Right, so we've gone and turned a static logo into a full-on client-ready presentation. But we're not done yet, because next up we're going to make a quick promotional video. This could be relevant for the client, but even if it's not, it'll look flippin' good on your Instagram.
So we're going to be using Premiere Pro to edit the video. So if we switch back to Artlist, again from the home page, we've got the AI image, AI video, and the AI voiceover features. Now, teaching online, I use my own voice a lot, but if I did want to change it to something funny for, say, a skit in a video, I could do that. Or another use for this, if you're the kind of person that doesn't like to be on camera talking, you can now generate an AI voice that you can use instead, which could be quite cool if you're someone who wants to create content, but doesn't necessarily want to be in the spotlight. Right, so now we're going to go to AI video, and this is where it gets really interesting and very fun. So I'm going to generate a cinematic aerial shot of a bunch of modular houses. Now, there's lots of different AI models to choose from, and honestly, I'm pretty new to this as well. Now, Veo 3.1 is good, and Sora, I've heard of that, and from my testing, it seems pretty good as well. So we're going to choose exactly what we want here, the ratio, the length, and the quality of the clip. And then we're going to generate this and we're going to see what this does. And you may have noticed that throughout this video, I've been using some AI video as well. So I've honestly been having a lot of fun playing around with this stuff because, as I say, it's all very new to me as well. And as you can see, we now have a lovely aerial shot of some modular houses.
Now, don't worry, we're not going to sit here for ages generating video because I've done that already. Downloaded a bunch of clips, some AI generated, some not, and we're going to dive into a bit of light video editing, and you'll see just how easy it is to make something look and sound good with very little effort.
So I'm going to go ahead and import my footage into Premiere Pro. And once you've done this, you can start dragging them onto the timeline and arranging them. And as you can see here, I've got my lovely aerial shot. Oh, that was a good one. So first of all, you can see I'm just putting them on the timeline, trimming them down, trimming out the bits that I like, don't like, and effectively just rearranging the pieces on the board. Now, I also have a track that I think is perfect for this, and this is from Artlist as well. So here we have the music category, and underneath we have creative assets. So things like footage, LUTs, templates, sound effects. We'll come back to that one in a sec. So for the music, I'm going to search for Hope, and we can listen to some of the tracks.
My craft is my profession.
And then up here, you can refine your search based on the genre or the mood. So let's say we want it to be more uplifting. We can add that as a tag, and then we could make it a bit more hopeful as well. Lots of settings to play with. Let's just try another one. Nope. Kind of epic, but I've already got my track, so we'll leave that one there. Now, some of the other categories, we have footage. So this is like stock video. We have templates as well, and they have these for Premiere Pro, After Effects, and other apps too. And honestly, I cannot recommend these enough if you're looking to level up your editing game. Like, there's a lot of stuff in video editing that you think, oh, I need to create that from scratch. No, you just download some templates. Like, look at these lovely light transitions. You don't need to make this. You just download them, install them, and use them. Right, next we have LUTs. These are like color profiles, and I love the fact that I can see how it looks before downloading it, because in the past I would just download loads of LUTs and not really like any of them. But to be honest, before we go any further with the video, we need to add the soundtrack in.
So I give you my hello.
So I'm just going to grab a small piece because I don't want to use the entire track. And to be honest, the soundtrack for me is the most important thing to get right first, because it's going to dictate the mood, the pacing, and even how I cut the clips, maybe to the time of the beat. So getting the right soundtrack is usually the first thing that I do. So you can see here, I'm just adding a few cuts and rearranging everything on the timeline. Firstly, to try and make sure the clips are in the right order. But also, as I mentioned, I might cut some of these to the music. So this part of the process can be a little bit stop, start, move things around, trim a bit off, that kind of thing. So hopefully you can see what I mean. So with that said, I'm now going to do lots of tinkering and just speed up this process. But as I say, all I'm doing is just cutting the clips, getting them in the right order, and then timing everything to the beat of the music. Like, honestly, it's that simple. It's just getting the right soundtrack and cutting the clips in the right way. Now, if you want to make things even more cinematic, we could select all the clips and nest them in their own sequence. And if we select the sequence, we can then go to the effect controls, and we can adjust the crop. So we're going to go for 12% on the top and the bottom, and you get those lovely cinematic black bars. And this is quite nice because it then pulls focus into more of that central area on the video. Right, now we're going to grab the type tool, click anywhere, and then type some text. I've got the text engineered for life. I'm going to pick a rather simple font, Inter, and I like this demonstration because it's not about picking fancy fonts or anything. This can look really professional, even with the simplest of fonts. So we've got here some descriptive words. So we have modular, we're going to have sustainable. There we go. And then we're going to do beautiful as well. And you can see I've changed the blending mode to overlay, which for that last one is questionable. And then we're going to close out with the line, your tomorrow begins today. I know, cheesy as hell, but we're going to make it smaller as well, just because it then gives this shot more room to shine. I'm sorry. That pun was completely unintentional. And then we're just going to fade the words in one at a time. And then lastly, I'm just going to make the words a tiny bit smaller and we can now give it a watch.
I just wanna love you well with all that I am. So I give you my heart.
Right, so it's looking good, but something is missing, and that is the end. There's no end to the video. So to close out the video, we're going to hop into After Effects and create a simple logo animation that is also going to show off the scalability of this logo design, and therefore the flexibility, and just basically show off how amazing this logo is. Well done, Dan. Bit of self-praise there. Pat yourself on the tip. You can stop now. But first, we've got to set things up correctly in Illustrator.
Right, so for this to work, we need to have each of these 4 versions of the logo on their own separate layer. Then we're going to center all of them in the middle. I know it looks a complete mess. Don't worry about that for now. Save this as an Illustrator file. So let's go and pop this in the folder with everything else. Give it a name because, well, that's what you do.
Okay, setup done. Now we can jump into After Effects.
And to be fair, you could do this in Premiere Pro as well, but we're going to use After Effects because we can now create a new composition. We're going to size this up. We're going to go with a 24 frames a second frame rate. And we're going to have the total length of the clip here, 10 seconds. And it's definitely not going to be longer than this. So there we go. We have our composition. We now need to add a solid color. So we're going to go with a light background. And now we need to import the Illustrator file, and you must change it to Composition Retain Layer Sizes. And what it's going to do is bring in each layer in Illustrator as its own layer in After Effects. So we can select them here, cut them, go back into the main composition, and then paste them. And we can delete the other composition that it created. And then what you can do for each layer is twizzle down the twizzly arrow thing, twizzle down transform, and then you can adjust the size, the scale, the opacity, and you'll be amazed just what you can really do by animating just these simple properties. So on the first version of the logo, 1 second in, we're going to add a keyframe for scale for both of these. And then we're going to scrub forward a few frames. And then we're going to click here to add another keyframe. Now for the logo 2 layer, remember this is the stacked version, the scale is going to start 20% bigger. And then for logo 1, we're going to have it end 20% smaller. So as we scrub through this, you can see them both changing size. And now we need to adjust the length of both these clips on the timeline. So halfway through this quick animation, logo 1 will disappear and logo 2 will appear. And if we get it right, it should look pretty seamless. And if you bring the keyframes closer together, the animation will play out quicker. And honestly, getting the speed right here can take a little bit of fiddling around. Now something you can do to make the animation smoother is just select all of the keyframes, right click, and then choose Easy Ease. So the animation will start slower and it will also slow down towards the end as well. And after lots of tinkering, you can see this is how it looks. So we've set up our After Effects file and it's now probably time to drop this into Premiere Pro. So let's go and import the After Effects file. We can choose the composition, click OK. And then we can drag this onto the timeline and this is going to sit at the very end. Now I've placed it randomly, but let's watch it anyway.
So I give you my heart.
So yeah, the timing's a bit off, but we can fix that. Now I've also got a shutter sound effect, and something I must mention is their Artlist library plugin. This is for things like Illustrator, After Effects, and I've got mine docked in the top left corner, so you can search and just drag and drop things straight from Artlist onto your timeline. So if you're going to spend a lot of time browsing and downloading and playing around and experimenting, it's definitely worth giving the plugin a go. Right, let's drag the sound effect onto the timeline. Now we've actually got 3 shutter clicks. We only need 1, so let's get rid of the rest and then position it where the logo comes in and then again where it changes.
So you see where we're going with this. The logo changes and then the shutter sound effect plays. Now we have to repeat this animation and sync up the other sounds for the other versions of the logo.
So we're literally just recreating the same animations from logo 2 to logo 3 and then logo 3 to logo 4. And the great thing about this workflow is that if you save your changes in After Effects, they automatically get pulled through into Premiere. Haha, pretty good. Right, let's just trim off the last bit.
right, flippin' heck, I think it's finally done. Should we just sit down now and give it one more watch through? I think so.
And I just wanna love you well with all that I am. So I give you my heart.
And honestly, I'm pretty happy with that for about 2 hours work. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and a big thank you to Artlist for sponsoring this one. And they've got a sale on at the moment as well, actually. So I'll throw some links and info down below if you'd like to give it a try. But otherwise, I hope you have a cracking day, and I'll see you in the next one.